Hello everyone, welcome to our channel 2Bits. In this video, we are going to solve some previous year InfyTQ questions. Now those who are new to the channel, let me tell you that we have solved many questions regarding the InfyTQ series on topics like error handling, object-oriented programming and data structures. So I would suggest you to watch those videos before moving on to this one. So let's start with the first question. In this question, we are given a function named info and we are passing it three parameters. One is name, the other is number of seats, and the third is marks. Now, name and number of seats are required parameters, and marks here is a variable length argument. Variable length argument are defined by putting an asterisk in front of the variable name and it stores any extra variable in the form of a tuple. It can either be empty if no extra variable is passed during the function call. So here name is a required parameter, number of seats take 100 as a default value if no other value is passed, and marks stores the variable length arguments. Now, in the first function call, we have info and we are passing John 350 and 21. Now, John will go in the name, 350 will go in the number of seats, and 21 will go inside marks and it will store it in the form of a tuple. Now, this function call is executed and it will give no error. In the second function call, we are only passing John. So John will go in the name part. As we are not passing any other value, number of seats will take 100 as a default parameter and marks will be an empty tuple as no extra arguments are passed. In third function call, we are passing John as the name, 100 as number of seats, and remaining values will go inside marks. So marks will be a tuple having 21 and 46. And number of seats will be 100 and name will be John. So all these three calls will execute successfully and give no error. So our answer would be all of them mentioned. Let's move on to our next question, which is also of similar type. Again, in this question, we are supposed to tell which of these function call will execute successfully. Now we have a function named display cat details which takes in parameters as color, name, pet name whose default value is null. Now when we pass white here in this first function call, white will go into the color. But our name is also a required parameter as it is not taking any default value. So we need to pass name as well. We need to pass one more argument. So a first function call will give us error, as number of arguments passed are less than the required number of arguments. In our second function call, we are passing gray and we are passing pet name as gray. So a first gray will go into a color and the next pet name will go as gray here. So again we didn't pass any value for our name. So again this will give us an error as the number of arguments passed are less than the required arguments. Now for our third function call, we are passing brown and Nelly. Now brown will go in our color and Nelly will go in our name and a pet name will take a default value which is none. So this function call will execute successfully and give us no error. Now in the fourth function call, we are passing black, Roger and Snow. So black will go into a color, Roger will go into our name, and Snow will go into our pet name. So this function call will also execute successfully. So here our answer will be 3 and 4, as these are the two calls that execute successfully. Now let's move on to our next question. Now in this question, we have a function named function1 and we are passing it two parameters, var1 and var2. Now let's make a function call with var1 as 20 and var2 as 1. So this is our first function call. Now let's see that our counter is 0. Now let's check out the first condition. Is var1 equals to 0? No. So we will move to our elif part. Is var1 mod 2 equals to 1? Because if this condition will be 1, then only we will go inside the elif part. So is var1 mod 2 equals to 1? var1 is 20. 20 mod 2 will give us 0. So we will not go inside the elif part. Then we will go inside the else part. So here we will do a counter plus 2. So here counter is 0 and plus 2 will become 2. So our counter value becomes 2. And we return counter plus function 1 var1 by 2 and 2 into var2. So what we will call next is we add counter plus we will make a call for var1 by 2. So 20 by 2 will give us 10 and 2 into var2. So 2 into 1 will give us 2 and we will subtract var2. So var2 was 1. So we will subtract 1. Now let's make a call for var1 as 10 and var2 as 2. So again our counter is initialized to 0. So our counter value is 0. We will check if var1 equals to 0. Is 10 equals to 0? No. So we will go inside the elif condition. Now we again check if var1 mod 2 equals to 1. As when it will be 1, then only we will move inside elif part. So is 10 mod 2 equals to 1? No, it will give us 0. So we will again move into the else part. So in our else part, we will add 2 to our counter. So our counter will become 2 and we will again return counter plus. So here our counter value is again 2. Counter plus function 1 of var1 by 2. var1 here is 10 and 10 by 2 is 5 and 2 into var2. So var2 is 2 and 2 into 2 will give us 4 minus var2. So var2 was 2, so we will subtract 2. Let's make a call for 5 and 4. So counter here is again 0. Is var1 equals to 0? Is 5 equals to 0? No. Is var1 mod 2 equals to 1? Is 5 mod 2 equals to 1? Yes. So we will simply return counter plus. Counter was 0 plus function 1 of var2 by 2. Now 5 by 2 flow value will give us 2 and 2 into var2. var2 was 4 and 2 into 4 will give us 8 and plus var2. So we will add here 4. Now let's make a call for 2, 8. Again we'll call for 2, 8. We see that counter is 0. Counter will be 0. Is var1 equals to 0? No. var1 here is 2. Is 2 mod 2 equals to 1? No. So we will again go to the else part. Counter will be incremented by 2 and we will return 2 plus, here we return 2 plus function 1 of 2 by 2 will give us 1, and var 2 is 8. 8 into 2 will give us 16 minus 8. Now let's make a call for 1 comma 16. Again we see that counter is 0. Is var1 equals to 0? Var1 here is 1. It is not equals to 0. Is 1 mod 2 equals to 1? Yes. So we will simply add counter and then we will call function 1. 1 by 2 will give us 0 and 16 into 2 will give us 32 plus var 2 here was 16, so we will add 16. Now we will make a call for 0 comma 32. So we are making a call for 0 comma 32. So we see again the counter is 0. Now is var1 equals to 0? Yes. So our this condition will be true. So we will increment counter by var2 by 2. So var2 was 32 and 32 by 2 will give us 16. So counter will be 16 and we simply return 0. We do not make any further calls and we return 0. Let's see what our answer would be. So this function call would return 0 and here we have 0 plus 0 and plus 16. So this would return 16. Now we have 2 plus 16, that would be 18, and minus 8 will give us 10. So we return 10. Now here we have 0 and 10 and plus 4 will give us 14. So this will return 14. Now 14 plus 2 would be 16 and 16 minus 2 will be 14. So again we give us 14. Now 14 plus 2 will be 16 and 16 minus 1 will be 15. So this will return 15 and our final answer would be 15. So C option is a correct option. If you get a question which has so many recursive calls, try to map out the recursive calls in this way and then finally return answer and calculate the output. Let's move on to the next question. In this question, we are making an object, add quiz object of the class addition quiz. Now, as we have discussed, whenever an object is created, the constructor of that class is always called. So we are making the object add quiz object and we will call the constructor of the addition quiz class, and we are passing 11 and 13 as the parameters. So add quiz object has a value score and num1 will be equals to 11 and num2 will be equal to 13. So this object is created. Now we are creating the object of multiplication quiz. So we are passing the parameters 2, 12. Now as we know, whenever an object is created, the constructor is always called. So we will look for the constructor in the multiplication quiz class. We don't see any constructor, but we see that it is inheriting addition quiz class. So if there is no constructor, then the constructor of the parent class will be called. So we will go to the parent class and we will pass the object for the multiplication class and we will pass the parameters 2 and 12. So we have multiplication quiz object which has a parameter score which is 0, num1 which is 2, and num2 which is 12. So this object creation is also done. Now we are calling the evaluate quiz through add quiz object. Now add quiz object is the object of the addition quiz class. So the evaluate quiz function of the addition quiz class will be called, and we will pass 24 as a parameter, and self here would be add quiz object. If you're not understanding, please watch the previous videos on object-oriented programming, as we have discussed the concept thoroughly in those videos. So, add quiz object will call the evaluate function and pass 24. Now, it will check the if condition. If num1 plus num2 equals to answer. Answer here is 24, and add quiz object had num1 as 11, this would be 11, and num2 as 13. So 11 plus 13 will give us 24, and self.score will be incremented as 24 will be equal to answer is also 24, and self.score will be incremented by 1. So this here would become 1. Now this is going on for the add quiz object. Now when the self score is incremented, we will return good job. So this particular call will return good job. Now as it is inside a print statement, so a first statement that will be printed would be good job. So let's say good job here is printed. So as good job is a first statement that will be printed, C option is totally wrong. Now let's call our second statement, which calls the return score function through the multiplication quiz object. Now multiplication quiz object is the object of the multiplication quiz class, so it will call the return score function of the multiplication object class, but it doesn't find any return score function here. So it will then check into its parent class. It will find the function return score in the parent class, and self here would be multiplication quiz object. So it will return self.score. Now multiplication quiz object has a parameter score whose value is 0. So it will return this particular function call will return 0. So score that would be printed would be 0. So our B option is incorrect and A is our correct option. Thank you for watching. If you learned something new, then please like, share and subscribe to our channel.